Hey there. Welcome back to another episode of Panther, Airsoft Folding Tabletop. I love that intro, by the way. Whoever did that. I saw that head move. That was cool. Episode 41, guys. This is going to be a special episode. This is going to be for Bill 4. BC Bill 4. So
What's
it
that?
was BC Bill
Bill
4. Yep. Number 4.
Four's
And,
up.
yeah, and it was just recently passed by our
what?
BC legislative. And yeah, it is BC Bill 4 Firearm Violence Prevention Act on March 23rd, actually. So we kind of missed this by a long shot. I was paying attention, but it kind of flew over my head, honestly.
Kind of just snuck it right in there.
Yeah. So the government had a huge vote on it. It was, I think it was like 51 yeah and 24 nays. That also included bill number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, and 12. So it was passed on again on March 25th, and it is now law. We went over this on our previous video about what Bill 4 is all about and how it is a good example or a good framework for BC 21. This is more for a provincial law for BC. It sort of helps Airsoft in a way get saved from being labeled as like imitation or replica firearms. It puts it in its own category, which is now low velocity firearms. We'll go over that in a bit here, but yeah, this is great news for us. Not so great for other things that are in the bill, honestly. But we're here more to talk about what it means for Airsoft. So what I'd like to do now is we'll just go into a little bit of a mini review. Unless you guys have something else that you want to add to this little intro part before I jump into the long sort of not long but short summer here, and then we'll go over what it means for airsofters and what changes are in the works for us.
Other than that, this moved pretty quick, so it's going to take a lot of people by surprise. For people who don't pay attention quite a bit, so this is going to be condensed in a sense. So you guys can always come back, rewatch it, as well as look at any of the links that we provide to you guys, so that you guys can get your own kind of view on it to digest it. But with that, we'll continue on here.
You got anything to say, Mac?
Yeah, we'll just yeah guys, this is a friendly PSA. So please guys, if you have the time, listen through what Poi is going to go and break down for you guys, cuz he took the time. Again, thank you Poi for just like seriously going through here and combing through and what we need to do. So he's got a list of really great like FAQs, frequently asked questions that are going to be, or they come from a frequently asked question perspective. So guys, if you again have a chance, share this with your friends or anything like that, people who aren't aware of this, because some people didn't even know that this was a thing coming into fruition, and now, sorry, we dropped the ball, but it is said and done. So some things did change, but other than that, some things didn't, and we're gonna have to
Just deal with.
we're gonna have to work around this. Yeah. So
Yeah. All right.
that's it.
All right, so let's continue on here. So again, it was passed on March 23rd. It had the second reading, third reading, royal assessment afterwards, and then it became to law on third, and the third reading and actually the royal assessment were on the same day. So that got passed pretty quick. That's how fast it went.
Exactly.
This video is just going to be an educational sort of video on what to expect, what to expect from this law, what's in this law, and as well as what you should do and the changes that are about to come in. So again, we're not lawyers or lawmakers or anything. We're just informing you on what is going on. So let's get started here. All right, PowerPoint time. Boom. Here we go.
Yeah.
So, where is my slides? There we go. All right, so BC Bill 4 2021 Firearm Violence Prevention Act. Again, when we went through this, we went through the history of why they put this bill through, and that was through the recommendations of a bunch of departments. If you want to look through that video, it was a BC Bill 4 video that we had previously. Look it up on the history. We're not going to go through the history of it. We're just going to go through a short, sweet summary of what this bill is all about. Now law. So I had to change the slide here. It is now law. All right. So let's go through it. So definitions. We understand what the definitions are: firearms, imitation firearms, minors. So that's a big one on this bill, is the minors portion. A minor is anyone or means an individual who is under the age of 18. So you really have no rights until you're over 18. I'm sorry, kids, but that's how it is in the law, and that's how it is in this law as well. Another one that they added for the definition portion is what we're talking about. The low velocity firearm means that the firearm that is not designed or adapted to do any of the following: discharge a shot, bullet, or projectile at a muzzle velocity of more than 152 meters per second, or a muzzle energy of 5.7 joules. So what does that mean? You have that. You can't shoot over 500 FPS. Is that right, Tack? If I'm correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Discharge a shot, bullet, or other projectile that is designated to adapt or attain the same thing. So you can't have a projectile shooting over that, or else it becomes a regulated firearm at that point. So we are still under the unregulated firearm portion. But we all know no one really shoots at 500 FPS like at that bar anyway. We always stop at that 400 FPS, if that's correct, right?
Yeah, well, the way it's been culturally, airsoft-wise in Canada, we've stayed below the 500 FPS limit. I know other places around the world, they might toy with FPSs up to 750 and stuff like that, but that's over there. With us, now that this is kind of moving forward, seems like this is where it's kind of being set in
Solidified.
stone. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Tech. All right, so that's that. That's the definition of low velocity firearms. We're talking about the energy portion of it. So makes sense. I think we could all agree on that. This is something that C21 needs, honestly. So BC just came in here and basically introduced it right there. All right, prohibition and requirement respecting firearms or imitation firearms on vehicles and boats. So this is more of the transport stuff. You can carry or store a low velocity firearm in a vehicle or boat, and you have to use it. You have to transport in accordance to the regulation, meaning that it has to be in a storage container. For adults, it doesn't have to be locked. For minors, it has to be, and we'll go over that when it comes to the minor portion of it. Prohibition against causing public disturbance with a low velocity firearm or imitation firearm. So obviously, you're gonna, this is common sense law at this point. Why are you taking a airsoft gun out to public? Mm-hmm. Right? And basically puts it into law saying that, hey, dummy, don't bring it out to public, and if you cause a public disturbance, that's really on you at that point. Did you have something to add there, Max? Sorry, sorry.
So with that, I was just thinking, because this right away brings to mind the stormtrooper incident. So
yes.
Obviously that didn't happen in BC, but
No, that was Calgary.
just looking at that though. So and obviously that was done on private property, as far as I understand. But right.
She was on the sidewalk.
Shit, sidewalk counts as public, though.
That's public.
Exactly.
Right? And then this is exactly the wording.
Now, exactly. So with that said, is this now covering that sort of angle?
Yes. And then what I'd like to add in here is, because I know people are going to be thinking about it right away. Guys, if you have neighbors that can see into your yard, this means your yard. Yep. It does not matter. It's on your property. If your yard is viewable as from public view, then it counts. So no more dry firing in your yard if you were doing that, or target shooting in your yard if you were doing that.
Yeah, I mean, we get it all the time too when we hear news of someone using an airsoft gun out in public. Sometimes it's just ignorance at that point where the person thinks that it was okay to use it, because they're in their house or in their front yard or backyard or whatever, and then someone saw it, and then the police gets called in. I'm gonna say, okay, I agree with the police. They called it in as a gun report. How are they gonna know, right? So this puts in that little warning label saying, hey, guys, like, please don't do this, right? Don't screw it up for everybody.
It is now illegal.
Yeah. All right, so let's just move on here. Prohibition against possessing low-velocity firearm if subjected to federal prohibition. So if you are restricted from owning one of the following, like a non-restricted firearm, prohibited firearm, or restricted firearm, or a crossbow, or a prohibited weapon, a prohibited device, ammunition, prohibition, like ammunition or prohibited ammunition, or an explosive substance. If you're like, if you basically broke the law and then you are now prohibited from owning any of those, you're also not allowed to own a low velocity firearm. So in their defense, if you're a criminal, unfortunately, you can't own a low velocity firearm at that point. I think
So that's where I wouldn't. So that's where you need to change your wording on it, right? Because it won't be so much that it's a criminal, but someone who has had a, let's just say a questionable past and has been convicted of a crime. A charge has gone through and everything like that, and they have that on their record. Then I believe what this is saying is yes. You are now not allowed to own airsoft guns
Yeah.
if you have a criminal record. So,
and this goes over as well for businesses where they have to make sure that the person that they're selling it to does not have this sort of past as well. Unfortunately, we don't. Unfortunately, there's no way for checking that. If there, if there's no system in place or anything like that, but if it is a well-known person that's in the news and they were released from prison and then they come out and they couldn't find a weapon, so they go to, because it's happened before where where someone who's been released from prison or probation or probation. Yeah, and then they come up and be like, okay, I can't purchase a firearm now, right? Even though no criminal would ever do that, purchase a firearm. Why would they do that? They would just illegally attain it. But in some instances, they find it easier if they could just go to like a hobby shop or something, and then they just purchase a BB gun, and then that's it, right?
Yeah, it's just cheaper. That's all it is.
It's like we've seen that before as well. So, yeah, this is a way of sort of solidifying that they are not allowed to purchase it or attain it at that point. It makes it illegal for them, and then that means that they can come in and be like, hey, you had this, we're gonna send you back into we're gonna charge you or send you back to prison, basically. Again, I'm not a lawyer or anything like that, but it makes sense, right, for stores to double check if that person is credible or not. I mean, they already do it. They already do it, but in a way, there's no way for them to check either way.
Yeah, who are they?
Yeah.
Who are they? They're not an authority, right? They can't like ask for a background check.
Yeah.
Like,
all right.
That's not how it works. Right?
So anyways, it's in here. So they're gonna have to work on it somehow, but businesses have the power to reject it anyway. Not reject the person buying it anyway. So let's continue on here. What do we have here now? We have prohibition against selling, renting, or supplying low-velocity imitation firearms or ammunition to minors. So this is the big one. Again, this bill is all about public safety. And one of those things that came out of the report was that a lot of minors were going out and basically purchasing airsoft guns and ammunition on their own without their parents' permission or consent at this point. So in here, it says that a person must not sell, offer, or must not sell or offer to sell a low velocity firearm or imitation firearm to a minor. A person must not sell, offer to sell ammunition or for low velocity firearms. So you can't sell ammunition as well. And then you can't rent. You can't offer to rent or supply in consideration any of the following to a minor: low velocity imitation and ammunition for low velocity firearm. So, I mean, no complaints there. This is basically preventing minors from purchasing it on their own. It doesn't say that a parent can still purchase it for you, as long as the parent is the one that is responsible
Well,
for holding that.
basically they've set this up that it sound okay, because I know people are gonna hear this or look at this or read this and be like, that's really stupid. Okay, well, this is why we have this thing right first. Okay, let's get this out of the way, and then I believe it's the exemptions or
Yeah, there's
and
exemptions at the end of it,
that's it.
and as well as transporting, right?
Mhm.
Because we also we're gonna go to the transport portion of it, which is based on minor is allowed to transport it, but they have to have it in an opaque case and as well as a locked case, right? For adults, you just have to have it locked or not locked, like in a case,
Oh,
in an opaque case. So I mean, obviously, minors are not allowed to buy it, but
okay.
they're still allowed to have it because or not have it, but a parent is still allowed to purchase it for them as long as they're the sole person that is holding that. So that pretty
So,
straightforward.
AKA parents, like it was with anything
Well,
else, you
what's your
guys are going to
next
be the
slide,
ones that
boy?
gets in trouble when your kid does something wrong.
Yes.
So, in essence, do a good job of parenting.
No,
There's
just
nothing in
be involved in your children's lives.
the next slide is the minors producing a credible false license identification. Did you want to add anything to
No,
the?
no, no, because I was just saying, like, okay, we're bleeding off here because I know this one is just
Yeah.
straightforward, and a lot of people might get
Yeah.
confused by this one. So, guys, just part 2, 11
Yep.
has exemptions.
All right, here we go. So exemptions if minor produces credible false identification or false federal license. So this means that you won't if the minor has a fake ID, presents
Mhm.
it to you, and says, "Hey, I'm over 18," and then comes in, and then you come in and says, "Okay, cool." As a business owner, you go, "Okay, cool," right? Fake IDs are getting good apparently, and then they then proceed to selling it to a minor, right? And then after they sold it, right, they find out that he was under like 18, he was a minor. The business won't be in the hook for it because was he was responsible enough to say, "Hey, you know, let me see some ID." And then the ID was false, then you won't get, charged for not checking the ID. You checked the ID, but it was false. There you go.
Mhm.
So that's that. I don't want to read through this enough, but yeah, that's what we explained the last time we saw this. It hasn't changed much. All right, so here we go. Number 13 is regarding exemption for a certain sporting or recreational facility.
There we
Um,
go.
I don't know if it means that there are certain licenses that are handed out to facilities like Panther or other paintball or airsoft facilities, and that matters, or as well as businesses that are allowed to sell this. But would be great to get some more info on this later on. But a person who operates a facility that provides sporting or recreational activities involving the use of low velocity firearms does not break the rules of Section 11. Section 11 is basically the minors portion of it.
Mhm.
Um, so minors are allowed to use it in this facility, right? No one is allowed to use low velocity firearms in a public space, right?
Mhm.
But in this space, you're allowed to use low velocity firearms, especially for minors as well.
Okay.
And you're allowed to sell ammunitions to minor in the in the premises of the facility, and you're allowed to rent them out. You're allowed to rent out low velocity firearms to minors as well, and as well as
Okay.
some adults in certain ways. So
Okay.
there's this. It's pretty straightforward. There is
Mhm.
exemptions to this rule, so it's not like you could go out there and play outlaw anymore. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Well,
Mhm.
okay, so what I like about this is the fact that they have that, like, it's clear as day right in the beginning of it, right? It's like they've set up, because I get it. Some of the wording in the like 11.2 and everything like that might set you up and be like, yo, what the heck? They're telling us that they can't have this. But again, they're saying like exemption for that, right? If you Yeah, so
Yeah.
there we go. I thought that was pretty slam dunk.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to maximize the window here. Apologize, guys. So here we go. Exemption of certain sporting or recreational facilities. So there is an
Mhm.
exemption for using low velocity firearms at a facility. So somewhere like
Well,
Panther
exactly.
will be allowed to use it. Again, unfortunately, outlaw sort of airsoft games are. Again, it's already frowned upon in the community, right? But it just writes it in here that's
Okay.
yeah. I don't want to.
So
I don't want to. Yeah,
I
go
need to
ahead.
play devil's advocate for that though, just because I know I have been having this conversation with Tack. So I know sometimes we um we get into the conversation about talking about some of the feelings of guys out east, and then them telling us what we need to do. Um, we've got the same thing here. We're lower mainland guys, so I know that in the urban areas, obviously our idea of bushball or outlaw airsoft and everything like that is not the smartest thing to do. But the guys out there in the interior or the northern parts and everything like that, I don't know what their community setup is like, but I'm sure it is one of those things where it's relatively easier to do those sorts of events and play styles and everything like that. So like I don't want to speak for them and be all like, like, oh, they're all doing it wrong, because again, I'm not their community, so they have handled themselves over the last 30 years. And hopefully, again, they are part of our community, so they can survive and thrive under these new implementations of law and everything like that. So that's where I'm coming off is
Yeah.
right.
Again, we're educating you on what the law is right now, and that's what we're trying to do. All right,
Yeah.
let's just move on here. Here we go. Prohibition
There we go.
against minors transporting, carrying, or storing low velocity firearms. A minor must not transport, carry, or store a loaded, I should have put that in red, low velocity firearm. A minor who is transporting, carrying, or storing low velocity firearms must transport, carry, or store the low velocity firearm inside an opaque container that is locked. There you go. Responsible gun ownership as well has these same parameters, right? But in this case, we're putting it towards minors now. And number 4 here, certainty for the purpose of subject 1. Low velocity firearms is loaded even if the low velocity firearm is temporarily incapable of being discharged. So you got to make sure that the chamber is also clear as well. So obviously, pretty straightforward here. We're treating it like a real firearm, right? Like we've always done as responsible sort of airsoft owners and gun owners as well. You always treat the gun as if it was loaded. Make sure that it is in a opaque case, that is locked. If you're an adult and you want to lock it, right? Just lock it. That's really up to you how you want to do it. But for minors here, it says that put it in an opaque case and it has to be locked. So there you go. Let's move on here. You guys have anything to add to that? I think it's pretty straightforward here for me.
No, I think it's pretty straightforward.
Just the only thing that I would add is just the quick tidbit about like like guys, if you're transporting guns and stuff like that outside of cases, like this is clearly the time to stop that.
Yeah, well, we'll go over
Yeah.
that in the and what changes.
Yeah, exactly.
In our attitudes here. Yeah.
Yep.
We'll just
Moving
go.
on, man.
We'll just quickly go through the summary here. Prohibition against minors discharging or possessing low velocity firearms in a prohibited area. Again, guys, they had to write this into law because there was enough silly people out there that did this, right?
Mhm.
Going out to school, going out to a church, going out to a public place. Why do you need to go to a public place with a low velocity or an airsoft, right?
Well, you clearly are not going there for any good intention.
Right? It's just we were talking about it last time where, when someone has to write something in the wall or in a place that they're not supposed to do and then they write it down there and then you go, wow, there's some seriously dumb people here. That's what it means. It's like they had to put this into law because there's there's people doing this, right? And I guess they're sick and tired of it, right? And again, public safety was their main concern for this bill. So they're addressing it, right? They're doing it properly. So I don't even need to read through this, honestly. It's common sense. Don't bring it out to public places. Ugh. All right, so this one, I know, Mac, you had issues with this. I get it. They didn't change it, unfortunately. But
yeah, nothing changed, right?
Yeah, power to arrest without a warrant, right? A peace officer, if if he reasonably believes that you are committing an offense, right? That is reasonable, meaning that if he sees some sort of gun in the back of your car and you're improperly transporting it,
Yeah.
obviously, he's he has he has reason to believe that you're committing an offense, and that offense is already written down here saying that you have to properly transport it, right?
So
I mean,
this will be for guys like who after even a hard day on the weekend and stuff like that, who just take their holsters off and or their belts off or whatever it is and throw it in the back of their cars or whatever
yeah.
it is without taking their pistols out and not
Oh, don't worry.
thinking
We'll
twice
we'll
about it and stuff like that.
we'll go over that on the very end of the slides here, which is
Yeah.
what are you supposed to do now, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously, there's been many times where probably cops pulled over somebody and be like, "Oh yeah, no, like, what's I see something at the back of your trunk or something like that, right?" Like, all right, here we go. They introduced the higher penalty offenses. We'll go over that when we go through each one of these categories that we're talking about. So
Yeah.
there's things like causing public disturbance. Of course, it's a higher penalty. Prohibition against possessing.
So owning one if you're not allowed to own one.
Yeah, and then renting or supplying it to minors. Of course, that's
Yeah,
a high.
okay.
It's a high offense, and as well as providing false or misleading information about the low velocity firearms. That's a higher offense as well. Right, so like the business are basically in a hook for this, for making sure that they don't provide it to people without educating them what this is and how to transport it, how to do things properly, right? So, all right, and then there's lower offenses. Let's say just these are lower, but that's fine. And then next one is duty to provide information about low velocity firearms. Person who carries the business of selling, renting, or supplying a firearm or low velocity firearm must provide them information on how to basically transport, store, and as well as where to use these things, right? Pretty straightforward here. Prohibition against providing false or misleading information about fire. Again, you can't provide false information for these. So you have to provide proper information for the end user about this.
So stop telling people that their guns can run lipos, okay? Or no, actually, stop telling them that they can run lipos, and stop telling people that you can use NIMS on a lipo gun. Stop.
I think there needs to be a big sort of BC business meeting with the rest of the crew to sort of hash out the details that they want. Sort of the same thing when Airsoft Canada came around and says we're not selling to 18 or under, right? So I mean, that was a good start, honestly. And then now we just have a lot of things written down now, and I got to make sure all our facts are straight. So I mean, I'll leave it up to them what to decide, what they want to do. But again, we're just informing everybody. We're just educating everybody here. All right, summary. If you're a law-abiding citizen, you're okay, obviously.
Oh my God, guys, we're safe. Wow.
Wow.
All right, good night, everybody.
All right, we're good.
Okay, stop panicking, guys. Stop panicking. They're not gonna come for airsoft guns. Right, maybe our guns, but not airsoft guns. All right, puts airsoft into a new low-velocity category or classification, whatever you want to call it. It's nice to see that we are not in a gray area anymore. Obviously, penalizes drivers. Penalizes drivers who transport illegal firearms. For this bill anyway. Prohibits people from having real or imitation firearms in specific locations like schools, hospitals, and where there's no legitimate purposes. They literally had to write that down because there's people doing that, right? We read the news. We read the news. We try to ignore it. We make sure it doesn't see the light of day, but it's out there, guys. It's obvious. There are people out there whose intent is to not play airsoft, but use it as what it looks like to be.
Exactly.
It's almost as if like it needed to be put in stone because people were doing it.
Yeah. Stop the sale of imitation and low-velocity guns to youth, right? Making it illegal for youth to fire, display these weapons where provincial, federal, First Nations, or municipal law prohibits discharging firearms. So again, kids out there, sometimes they don't know any better. They go out there and they just brandish almost real looking firearm, but it's an airsoft gun, and it puts bad name, on us, right? When they say it was a toy, so that puts it into stone right away that minors are not allowed to have these unless they are at a facility or sporting facility that can do it, or recreational facility. Businesses have the responsibility to provide exemption for sporting or recreational facilities so that adults and minors can use the low velocity firearm. Great. It's good to have that. There's an exemption. Businesses have responsibilities to educate to the buyers regarding low velocity firearms and making sure they do not provide false information, of course. As a business, that's basically your responsibility at that point.
Damn right.
It's kind of best practices.
It is. It is. Again, if you have a store out there that is not very trustworthy and they provide you false information, and then you go out there and say, "Oh, the store told me that I could do it," right? Who's at fault here? Was it the store or was it that person? Because that person got false information. So they've written it down saying, "Hey, guys, make sure that people know what they're doing with these."
Insert Spider-Man meme.
You. All right. Added penalties for violating the laws. We needed that. Apparently, we needed that. Now we do.
Apparently, yeah.
So this is where we ended off at the last time we were looking at these. There was no amendments in place. I wish there was, but again, no politician would listen to our show anyway. But hey, here we are. All right. Do I need to do anything differently?
Yes.
Short. Damn it, Tack. I thought you reviewed the slides.
I know, I did.
Who are you? Who are you?
I'm sorry. I had to throw that.
If you are a law-abiding citizen and you already have your common sense rules in place, you really don't have to do anything. Right? You're a regular Airsoft player. You play every weekend.
I think we need to change that word. It's no longer common sense. It is acquired knowledge. Guys, if you are acquiring this knowledge like Poi is letting you, okay? There's reasons for this.
Okay. So again, if you're a law-abiding citizen, you already know what you're doing. Let's be honest here, guys. Hopefully. Airsoft continues to be business as usual for BC. Okay? There's no changes. Don't panic, guys. I mean, unless C21 does something crazy and takes it away from all of us, which I highly doubt it will, then we panic. But right now, let's not. Right? Let's support your business. Support your local airsoft field. Keep buying.
Yep.
Yeah. Please donate to our Patreon. We don't even have one. I don't yet.
Why?
Nothing much changes for anyone who plays airsoft. Okay. That's bottom line here, guys. If you again are using this for recreational purposes, not something that you go out there and pretend you're somebody else out in public. I don't know what to say to you guys, but that's called breaking the law now. And that's not that's not something we don't do here. Is breaking laws, right? And if you're looking for excuses or they need loopholes or anything for that, I mean, it pretty much almost covers it. Right there is you can't take it out to public. I mean, yeah. Anyways, let's continue on here. I'm not trying to defend criminals here. I'm defending the law-abiding citizens, guys, because that's
well, exactly, and this helps frame it out and carve it out for law. But it seems like this took a very common sense approach in the sense that it's pretty agreeable.
Yeah. All right, let's continue on here.
Well, there's gonna be people who don't like it.
All right, it says here. Sorry, guys, I didn't realize.
Can I read it out?
Yes.
Poi, do I need a license now?
No, you do not. Again, it's not illegal to own airsoft guns, and licenses are something that is over the 500 FPS limit, right? So we were talking about we've been categorized as a low velocity firearm, but that doesn't need a license right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. I just realized that I haven't been popping the big window here. My bad. And it says here, low velocity firearms means that means a firearm that is not designed or adapted to do any of the following: discharge a shot or bullet projectile that has a muzzle velocity more than 152 meters per second, 500 FPS per second. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. So no
Pretty
license
clear?
required. That's pretty clear. All right. Do you need to do anything different? Storage and transport. I'm gonna guessing the majority of people here um, will need to change their habits. I would say. So I'll just pop this up
Mhm.
bigger.
I would say just tighten up.
Yeah, tighten up. Use an opaque gun case. Only take your airsoft gun to and from the airsoft field, store, or house. Minors can transport their airsoft guns in an opaque container that is locked. The days of storing your airsoft guns in the trunk of your car isn't over. Please consider buying a storage container, guys.
And just explain what you mean by that, boy, just in case people are confused. 'cause
So-
they're like, well, I can only keep it in my trunk.
So here we go. So remember the penalty's low for this, right? They made it so that you going to one place to another and you improperly store it, then it's a pretty low penalty because it's still it's still sort of hidden, right? But if it's sitting at the back seat and people can see it, then it's gonna become a public disturbance at that point, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so what do I mean by storing your airsoft guns? Well, examples of gun bags, guys. That is an example. Ooh, that's
a great one.
that's a fancy one. That's if it's too much for you. Ooh, there you go. I believe the Macintosh store sells this, right? Wink,
The
wink,
budget-
nudge, nudge.
Budget friendly.
The budget.
Budget friendly.
This is the budget friendly one. You could still on the zippers. I believe there is a lock.
There is. It's a luggage lock.
Yeah, luggage lock. Yeah.
zippers.
So that's the minimum requirements. A luggage lock is fine. There you go. Or if you're feeling really, really like
My wallet.
my
hurts.
wallet hurts, this is about $300 to $400 here, guys. A Pelican case, 1650 Pelican case. You know,
You won't
if you feel very operator, you want one of these. Get one of these. I mean, I have.
When I kick it out of a helicopter.
Yeah, I have one, but I don't use it for airsoft. I use it for my, AV
Camera
equipment stuff. Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and for those real low budget ones. Ooh.
Oh god. Like, oh my god, are you hurting me right now? Like,
I don't know if this is low budget, but this is for pistols, guys. If you have a
Yeah,
pistol,
that's low budget. That's
Yeah.
low budget.
hey man, it's a little more than
hey,
what I got for my
some
pistols.
people start off with a pistol, right? And
Mhm.
they need to know that this is a good storage for them. So these are examples of gun bags, guys. Use it properly, right? Just like responsible gun owners will do the same thing. They will store it properly, transport it properly. It is now blanketed to airsoft, all right? And there is no ifs and buts and whatever. We need to do this, and this is a
Bad
habit.
category.
This is the habit that we got to get into, guys, because if it looks like a firearm and it operates almost the same, then
It's gonna be
we
treated
should
like-
we should do the same thing that they're doing.
Mhm.
No questions there. All right, let's move on here. Don't use airsoft guns out in public, please.
Hmm. So that
So
also
okay,
means.
so this is where I do need to like reiterate to some people and stuff like that because again, from the perception of what they have now implemented as law, there's no ifs and buts around it in BC anymore. This is going in. Just because the cop hasn't come and arrested you yet or come and given you a ticket or something like that just means that they haven't been briefed on it yet. It's that new.
Yeah.
But what it is like again, if you're wherever you're taking this, if this is viewable from a public area, then that
Mhm.
means it's a no go. So, again, I have talked to many of people. I've done it myself. This is pretty much saying you can no longer shoot an airsoft gun in your yard, I believe. I mean, unless you have like privacy hedges that go like 15 feet up
And no one can
like,
see you. Yeah.
yeah, like no one, like visibly, like no one can look into your yard, like like. But again, it's you don't want to play that game, so I would just recommend everyone.
Not many of those people around, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, dry fire in your house, shoot at the field. That's it.
Yeah. All right. So don't use airsoft guns out in public. It is common sense for airsofters to know this already, obviously.
Hmm.
It causes
So this is why I want to argue that though, because it's not though, because it's
again,
like, yes,
they had to write a rule for this. There you
yeah,
go.
right, yeah.
If you're causing public
Sorry,
disturbance with an airsoft gun, it's your fault, right? I mean, if the cops get called in, that's your fault. That's your like discharging your airsoft gun in public. Don't do it. All right. If you do this, it's now illegal. There's penalties for this now, right? And unfortunately, a lot of this is specifically targeted for minors as well, because of the fact that they had to put in a law just for minors not to, be able to purchase these things, right? If there is no parental consent, then there is no control over it. So there you go. I'm sorry, minors, but it's a pretty high penalty. All right. More minor stuff. Adults or minors cannot sell, rent, or lend to minors. This includes selling ammunition and BBs. Parents can still purchase the airsoft gun for their child, but it is up to the parent to be responsible for that low-velocity firearm. A minor can still use an airsoft gun at a sporting or recreational facility, which is exempt from those rules.
Mhm.
And it's a pretty high penalty if you don't follow this. Pretty straightforward. There is an exemption for sporting and recreational facilities. Airsoft has a safe space to play on. There's no more outlaw games, unfortunately. But again, it's hard to sort of... Again, you're talking about this, Mac, about like the guys in the interior, they go play out in Cronland and stuff. It's very difficult to judge this thing, right? And then again, it's the same thing. It's like the RC.
Who are we?
Yeah, and the execution of this right now, which we'll go over, is the RCMP doesn't even know about this yet. So if they know you guys go out into the woods, you inform them, then, I
doubt they would have a problem with
that
it.
I don't think they'll have a problem. It's still business as usual for them. They are much more busier with other things, right? If you cause a public disturbance going out into town, into a public area with this,
threatening people,
then we have an issue. But if you weren't causing an issue to begin with back then, I don't think you're causing an issue now, unless someone really doesn't like you and reports on you. But other than that, yeah, like it's still business as usual. It's just laws here in place to tell you that it's not anymore, and there are places to go out there. There are businesses that can be had here for running your own airsoft facilities and such. So it's a good opportunity for some people to look into it. Oh God, here they come. Good timing, by the way, whoever that was.
Yeah, they can see Tax got it right in the open.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, bad. No, that's fine. You're in a you're in a private place.
This
Is
my
it
room.
though? People can see.
Open the
It's my
curtains. Open the curtains a little bit, then it's illegal. All right.
Yes.
Yeah, minors can use it in a designated facility now. There's no problems for adults using the facility as well, or recreational facility. All right, so the execution has been pretty poor on this one for the government. Rollout has been slow or unnoticed. All right, even I didn't even know about. Actually, it's my fault too, because when I was looking at the page, I was looking at the first reading, and then you actually have to scroll a little bit to the right to get the other dates as well. So, my bad, guys. I promised I would keep up with it, but I didn't.
It's okay. You were on the mobile.
We also didn't think that it would go.
Yeah,
so fast.
no, it was actually pretty quick. So again, execution and the rollout has been slow and unnoticed. Honestly,
BC government was just trying to flex. Okay, they're all like, "Yo, federal liberals, you guys trying to screw around with that 21 bill?"
Let's not jump into the politics of things here. All we know is that they rushed this thing pretty quick because there was no amendments in place. Most are unaware of the bill that is law, or most are unaware that the bill was law. Was as in like it was March 25th it became law. So, what are we now? Like April 8th?
April 8th.
Yeah, so
Yep.
we're what, like 2 weeks delayed? We're okay. We're okay. It's up to you to educate other airsofters, businesses, and agencies about the new law. Hopefully, this video sort of provides you that. So, for execution, what about airsoft businesses? Currently, there is a lot of businesses that are unaware of this law that was put in. Hopefully, this shines light into the new law. Local fields should be aware of Section 13 of the law, exemptions for certain sporting or recreational facilities. That is a huge bonus for you guys. Look into what sort of licensing it needs to get your facility or business sort of registered. Again, we don't know anything about this right now, so ask ask what it is that you need to get that licensing. Airsoft stores should be aware of Section 74 and 75, providing proper information and not providing false or misleading information, right? You can't just tell someone, oh yeah, you could go to over there at Stanley Park and just start your own games. No, you can't do that. That's false information, right? So,
please don't.
there you go.
Please don't ever do that.
And all airsoft business should be aware of Section 11, selling to minors. You cannot sell to minors, guys. They have to have a parental guidance with them when they are picking their airsoft gun, and then their parent are choosing it, and then you provide them the proper information to the parent on what to do.
Exactly.
It is the parent's responsibilities, right? All right. And next agency that we have here is the RCMP. So far, they're really, like anything, they're humans too. They're really unaware of the laws that are coming in. And, they haven't had any brief or anything. They're not aware of Bill 4 as well, honestly. They're not. They're probably aware of C21 because of all the echo that we've been making, right? And the gun community as well. And, for them...
They're part of the gun community.
Yeah, they're also part of the gun community as well. So, I mean, they have to abide by whatever rules that is placed in front of them. But again, there's also other bills that came out with this Bill 4 as well. So they probably don't even know about it. So, I mean, again, like anything, like any sort of business, there's always someone in their field that specializes in certain things. Like they have a firearms expert that specializes, or a traffic cop, or someone who does arson, and someone who does e-commerce, like crime, and a whole bunch of others like abuse, and there's people that specialize. So there's someone in their department that probably knows what's going on, but they haven't briefed everybody yet. With that, Bill 4 also, it provides peace officers with more power, right? Mac, you're not a big fan of this, but they could arrest people without a warrant.
It's not that I'm not a fan of it. It's just that I don't like how vague and open it is.
Yeah.
But I understand, but I don't know. It's very gray to me to be able to say like, hey, the cop can arrest you if he wants. Where it's like, okay, that seems kind of sus, but all right.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not properly transporting it, right? And we're talking about transport because of the fact that that's where your most interactions with the peace officers is on a road, because that's where they're patrolling the most, right? They're not gonna come waltzing in your private home and be like, "Ha, I see that, and that. You're busted.
You're done, locked up."
Yeah,
there we go.
First of all, they're not allowed to do that. Second of all,
it's clearly you've made a traffic violation to the point where they have needed to request an audience with you, and if you have a gun in the back seat open, you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah, so proper storage is key here, and that's why they recommend it in these laws, right? Not recommend it, require it. Sorry. There's a difference now. All right.
Yeah.
See, as you can see here, make sure you're storing your gun properly so it's not brandishing out in public, right? Again, times of putting it in your trunk, thinking that it's hidden.
Covered in a hoodie, or
that's over, guys.
Yeah.
Just buy a gun bag, guys. All right, and for most of the RCMP, the status quo still remains the same. If you're not causing any problems with them, they're not going to have any issues with you. Easy. So, all right, next agency is a CBSA. Honestly, no response because this isn't federal. This is a provincial law. They're not going to change it because of provincial law. So highly doubt they're going to change anything. It's still going to be a 366 to 500 FPS limit for us. So we can't go lower yet until the federal sort of kicks in, right? But again, these are just, and CBSA, those are just recommendations, right? There is nothing written in the federal law as well for the lower FPS portion of it. So
with that, it just means that I can't go down to the States with something under 366, right? Or does that also mean that I can't go across to Alberta with something under 366?
It still remains the same. I can't comment on this enough. Because the CBSA does what CBSA does, which is basically, it's a federal mandate. All right.
Good luck stopping you from going to Alberta, too. We don't have, land borders. Provincial borders.
I'm just saying, right?
It's like a mountain pass, man. You survive, it's like, okay, keep going, go ahead.
Yeah.
You mean just drive over?
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
It's like you drive. What are you driving? The Coke? Good luck.
Yeah, you got your chains on.
You need chains and the best winter tires ever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So what can you do? So we're almost done here, guys. This is the final slide here. What can you do?
Yeah.
Again, I am bad at this because I keep forgetting to make the window maximized here. So what can you do? Educate other airsofters, guys.
Big thing.
Oops. Make sure minors are aware of the transport and usage laws, right? They are definitely not allowed to use it in public. They're definitely allowed to transport it, but that's if they have it in an opaque case and as well as locked,
Lock.
and your parents are driving you to airsoft.
Mhm.
Make sure businesses are aware of their responsibilities, right? They have to provide true information to the end user that is purchasing it. They have to make sure that they are 18 or over to purchase it, and if they aren't, then they have to have a parent with them, and they have to explain to the parent how to use this responsibility or responsibly, and as well as how to transport it, and where is certain places to play at, and share this video. So pretty straightforward there, guys. Hopefully this brings you guys up to sort of what you need to know in regards to the new bill, Bill 4, BC Bill 4 laws here that was just introduced in March 25th. Yeah, for me personally, I think this makes sense. It's a very common sense law. It's a very very good public safety sort of agenda that they pushed in. Again, we're more focusing on the airsoft portion of it,
Mhm.
and it's nothing to do with taking your guns away, taking your airsoft guns away, taking your toy away. This really has nothing to do with it. If you are a law-abiding citizen and you already know what you're doing with it, and you're doing all of these things properly, then it's no problem for you. If you're a criminal, or if your intent with an airsoft gun is to commit some sort of crime, this isn't for you, right? So, I mean, I have nothing else to say other than use it responsibly and make sure you inform everybody. What else do you guys have to say about this? I mean, it's pretty straightforward, right?
Mhm. Um. Just make sure you keep yourselves educated. It's hard to stay updated. With stuff like this. How busy people's day-to-day lives can be and stuff like that. But just try your best to pay attention and stuff like that. And if not, keep your notifications and whatnot on for channels like ours and others similar to ours and stuff like that that can help you guys stay up to date on some of the news and stuff like that that's coming out about things like this.
And Mac?
Yeah, basically, guys, it's the same thing that we've been asking, right, guys? Just put this video out there, share it. Talk about it with your friends, talk about it with your teammates, talk about it with your family. Just try and get the awareness out there, because again, a lot of people might have thought that these things were already in place, or might think that these things don't really need to be in place. But again, it's just about awareness, guys. So again, yeah, please be aware.
Yep. And stay safe out there, guys. Make sure you transport your airsoft guns properly. Don't brandish it out in public. And yeah, keep those kids safe, guys. If you're a
Hmm.
parent, yes, if you're a parent and your
Yeah,
kid
some
makes
things
you
to think
listen to
about.
this, you have some additional responsibilities, but hey, raising a kid has a lot of responsibilities already. So
Hmm.
hopefully that you make the informed decision here on what you need to do, and we've educated you enough. And please share this video out to everybody in BC, because this is something that needs to be known, so that all the silliness of having to hear the news all the time about people brandishing this out in public and yada yada yada, this will stop. It won't be overnight. People are going to take their time to sort of kick in the habit of transporting, kick in the habit of going to a place. If it's outlaw, unfortunately, it's one of those things where our outlaw airsoft is one of those things where a business has to spring up. But if you haven't had any issues at your end there, and the police has no issues with you, then it's
Well,
hard
that's
to
something
say.
that they are going to deal with in their community
Yeah,
as themselves. Because
yeah,
again, I it is not my place to say
yeah,
how they handle themselves out there. We are part of the same community, but right, they're not playing in the Lower Mainland. When they do, they come by, they follow our rules.
yeah.
If they want to set something up out there, you know, by all means. But yeah, so
Yeah.
that's just all I mean by that is that.
All right. Well, I got nothing else to add here. Hopefully this was short and sweet for you guys. We tend to go over our videos a lot, but we like to digest a lot more information than the other guys here, and we like to go over a lot of things in depth. Yeah. Hopefully you guys learned something today, and we'll roll in with the regular episodes coming up soon. All right, this has been it for episode 41 of the Panther Airsoft Holding Table Talk, and Bill for it is now in law. All right, this is Poi. We got Mac up here, and we got Tack down there. We'll see you guys on the next podcast. Goodbye.
Catch you later.
See you guys.